Hello everyone and welcome back to our mini Kasparov saga. We are back at the Croatian Grand Chess Tour. It's the second day of the blitz section and it's Kasparov with the white pieces against his nemesis from round 1 of yesterday, Jorden. And I've decided to pronounce him only as Jorden for the time being because it seems like, well, just pronouncing his actual last name is impossible. I've tried it, and some of you actually were kind enough to send me, proper ways of pronouncing this. But even 3 of you have sent me this, and all 3 pronunciations were different. And one of you even sent me an original video where Jorden pronounces it himself, and that pronunciation is pure sorcery. I cannot pronounce that. Like half of the letters are silent, and this is one name where I give up for the moment. I am planning on learning it, and I will improve, but for the moment he will only be referred to as the Jorden. So it's Garry Kasparov versus the Jorden, and it's the first game of the second day of the blitz. It's quite the game. Kasparov had a terrible day yesterday. Out of the 9 games, he only got 1 draw against Alexander Grishuk, and he lost all the other 8 games. And now, well, we'll see if his bad luck will continue. Will this be officially his worst tournament ever, or will he bounce back? So here, with the white pieces, Kasparov opens with e4. We have e5, and Kasparov goes for his long-lost weapon, and that is, of course, the Scotch. So knight to f3, knight to c6, and d4. The Scotch game, we have e captures on d4, knight captures, and the knight to f6. Now, the Schmidt variation of the Scotch, we have knight captures on c6, b captures, and e5 now. So this is very well known. There are thousands of games in the database with this exact same line. Queen to e7 now, of course, pinning this pawn, and queen to e2. Now the threat, of course, is just capturing this knight. So knight to d5 and c4. And Kasparov himself has many games in the database with this exact same line. And usually what black will do here is either retreat with the knight with knight to b6, or even pin the pawn with bishop to e6, so you can't capture the knight. But here, Jorden goes for a different line. He plays queen to b4 with check, saying that, okay, Kasparov forgot to play queen to b4 check against Mieses yesterday. I'm gonna play it now and see what happens. So here, queen to b4 check. Again, it's not a new move, but it's a very, very rare one. So here, knight to d2, Kasparov defends, and now knight to f4 with an attack on the queen. We have queen to e3, and now knight to g6. So it's a bit different than all the other lines that we're used to seeing in this particular variation, because usually this knight ends up on b6, not on g6. So let's see how Garry deals with this. We have bishop to d3. He, of course, just continues development, and now bishop to c5, developing with tempo. The queen retreats to g3, and now both players just castle. So castles, and now d6, attacking this pawn here, and saying, what are you going to do here? So while Kasparov could defend it, he could even decide to give up the bishop for knight here, but that's something Kasparov can never do. He's a natural attacker, and of course he wants his bishop pair to be fully operational at all costs. So here there is one game in the database where e captures on d6 was played, but here Kasparov just plays knight to b3. He prepares to develop his other bishop, and he says, okay, you can have your pawn, I'm going to grab your bishop, so I'm going to be the one with the bishop pair, and I'm going to try and attack your king. So here Jorden accepts the challenge, and he goes for knight captures on e5. We have a3 first, pushing the queen back, queen to b6, and now knight captures on c5. We have queen captures, and now bishop to e3. Going for some rapid development here, so only one move for the black queen, that's queen to a5, and now Kasparov continues advancing with b4. So Kasparov is down a pawn, but he's the one dictating the tone of the battle. So queen to a4, and now bishop to d4, making it impossible for black to eliminate this very strong light square bishop, as you would get checkmated here on g7. And there's also another problem. If you don't do anything, f4 is coming. You're going to have to give up the knight, otherwise you're again getting checkmated. So here Foreest goes for the absolute strongest defensive idea, and that is f6. Yes, sometimes that is the absolute strongest idea. And now Kasparov has to figure out how to get past this monster knight on e5. So now he says, all right, I know this is really a problem for me now, and the f6 pawn really numbs down the power of my bishop, so I'm just going to give up the bishop for knight here, and then take advantage of your lack of development to maybe do some damage. So here f captures on e5, and now f4, trying to open up the position before Foreest can develop before Jorden can develop his pieces. So here, and yeah, I've tried to master it, but it is, some of you say it's Foreest, some of you say it's Foreist, it's I will improve. So Jorden here, after f4 plays bishop to f5, he continues development, and now f captures on e5. We have bishop captures on d3, Kasparov captures on d3, and now d captures on e5. So for the moment, you can see that the material is now equal. Black is still up a pawn, but now queen to d7 by Kasparov. And now that's a very active square for the queen. You're attacking c7, and Jorden has to decide what to do here. So he could try to grab a pawn, but it doesn't really work. For example, captures, and now what do you do? If you capture on a3, well, queen to f7 check, and it's black who's getting checkmated. You just give up the queen, and that's it. Black gets checkmated. So you can't really go all greedy here. So queen to b3, now putting pressure on c4, but also just trying to remaneuver the queen back into the game via queen to e3 check. So here, Kasparov grabs the pawn on c6, and now we have queen to e3 check, king to h1, and Van Foreest, again, I do it, goes king to h8. We have rook f to e1, going after the queen here, queen to c3, and now queen captures on c7. So grabbing yet another pawn, but Jorden, of course, is playing to bring the rook in and pick up this pawn. So rook a to c8, and now queen captures on a7, grabbing yet another pawn, rook captures on c4, and now h3. Kasparov creates some breathing room for the king here, and rook c to f4 now, nicely doubling up on the f file. His e5 pawn is protected, so maybe you can start advancing it, and Kasparov will try, of course, to advance his queenside pawns to see who is faster. But for the moment, Kasparov is up a pawn, and things are looking very, very good for him. We have queen to c5. Garry immediately goes for the queen trade, and Jorden, of course, declines this. We have queen back to b2, and now Kasparov grabs the pawn here, wanting to trade the queens of the board, because now he's up 2 pawns, and, it's just going to be good for him. But again, Jorden has to decline this. He plays queen to b3, and here the position is completely winning for Garry. Of course, he's up 2 pawns, but there's one very efficient way to end the game. So feel free to pause the video here and win the game for Garry the quickest way possible while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on playing pretty much anything. You can play rook to b1, start advancing the pawn, you can push the pawn to b5 immediately, but the quickest way to win this is just to capture the rook, and that's it. Of course, black's weakness of the back rank is very much present here, because if the rook captures the queen now, just rook to e8 check, and that's it. We could also give up the rook first, but you have to play queen here, and then captures, and then of course it's just 2 pawns up, 2 connected pass pawns up. This is completely winning for white. But both of them are extremely low on time. This is a blitz game, and instead of this, Kasparov just plays queen to e3. So what does he want here? He wants to trade queens now, and then use both of the rooks, probably place this rook on b1, and then just advance both of his pawns. With so little time on the clock, this seems to be the more straightforward way, but leaving the queens on the board maybe isn't so great. But okay, queen to c4, and now rook a to c1, chasing his queen, queen back to f7, now tripling here on the f file, and now queen to g3. Now, if this rook, for example, ever moves, you can always play something like rook here and then put some pressure on the g file, but it's, anything is possible. But basically, Kasparov's plan is just to advance his queenside pawn. So here we have h6, Van Foreest also... I do it again. Jorden also creates some breathing room for his king, and Kasparov starts advancing his pass pawn. So b5, we have queen to d5, and now a4. So even offering this pawn just to discoordinate black's rooks a little bit, Jorden grabs the pawn, rook captures on a4, but now just rook to b1. And this pawn is now a monster, as it's protected by a rook. So rook to f5, and now comes b6, just continuing to push that pass pawn. We have rook to g5, putting some pressure here on the g pawn, but now just b7. And here Kasparov says, okay, that's it. If you capture my queen, I'm just going to bring another queen into the game and pick up the rook, and I'm going to be up a rook. King h7, queen captures on g3, and of course I win here. So instead, after this b7 move, we have queen captures on b7 by Jorden, and now comes queen captures on g5, and it was in this position that Jorden resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So after 9 rounds, 10th round goes to Garry Kasparov. He retaliates for his loss to Jorden in the first round. It was a really nice 25 move brilliancy, but now he bounces back, and we'll see if this is the first of many victories of the beast with 1,000 eyes, or if this is just one out of an 18. So yeah, here of course you resign because there is nothing for you to do. If you capture the queen, we're just going to capture this queen, and now we're up a whole rook, and other than that you really don't have a move. If you try and do something like queen captures here, we're just going to play queen to d8 check or anything here. I mean, there's really there's nothing we can't do. Queen to d8 check, king to h7, and now we're just going to play rook captures on b1, so we just move our queen away from danger and we're up a full queen. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, after queen captures on g5, Jorden resigned the game, and this is the first victory for Garry Kasparov in this blitz section of the Croatian Grand Chess Tour. And also, sorry about mispronouncing Jordan's last name so many times in this video. So yeah, once again, hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Kevin Keith, Robert Aratun, and Jem Alboyd and Cruzadria.com for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing the coverage of this mini Kasparov saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.